All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Wholesaling the Cool Way. I'm your host, Jasper Cool, here with my dad, Mark Cool. And on this show, if you haven't listened before, we like to dive into our respective wholesaling businesses. We're both in North Carolina and wholesaling throughout the state. So we typically like to share victories, any challenges, and any tips and tricks that we picked up over the last week. So usually we kick it off with some inspiration or learning from books or podcasts or anything. So do you have anything you want to share on that front?
I don't have a lot this week. I've been doing the non-business inspiration the last few weeks just because I needed a break from consuming business content for the most part.
Mhm.
So I've been reading poetry. Mary Oliver has been my go-to lately. It's been really good for me just to shift to counterbalance all the business thinking and stuff. And
Mhm.
that's one book I've been reading is Mary Oliver poetry. The Stoics too. Some of the Stoic stuff. It's been good for me. And then I have been reading the James Clear newsletter, which we often share on this podcast, but just little nuggets of wisdom. I'm sure there's other stuff, but that's all I can think of right now. That's all I got.
Nice. That's all good.
Yeah.
Uh, well, yeah, for me, I started reading this new book called The Warren Buffett Way. I think that's the title of it. And I don't remember who wrote it, but it's about Warren Buffett and his story. And I'm only in the beginning, but I was really enjoying that so far. It was breaking down some of the numbers, which I don't know off the top of my head, but it was crazy how they went through his whole background. So it's cool hearing how young he got started, like making money. Like
Yeah.
he was just really interested in making money from a really young age. I think he
Yeah.
started like his first quote unquote business when he was under 10 years old. I think he was like 8 or 9 years old. And his first one, if I remember correctly, was like weight scales. And he noticed he went to a barber shop and he noticed there was a scale and he put in like back then, I think it was a penny or a nickel, and you put it in and you weigh yourself. And he was like, wow, that's like genius. And so he just bought a couple of those. And I don't remember how much the scales were. I think they were, fairly cheap to us now, but probably a lot of money back then. I think it was like 10 or
Yeah.
20 bucks. But either way, he bought a few of those and then he set them up in barbershops around town. And then he just like kept growing that. And then he got addicted to that, like just buying something and then like getting money back from it. And so he like kind of traded up and doing bigger things, like not just scales where you make a penny or a nickel, but he was doing bigger and bigger things. And he got paper routes and he was doing, newspaper deliveries and stuff. But either way, he saved up like thousands of dollars by the time he was in high school. And then he started investing in stocks. And the rest is history, but it breaks it all down. And it was just really cool. And he got to learn from Benjamin Graham, which is one of a really popular investor back in the day, who wrote the book, I think Intelligent Investor or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and so he learned from him and he went and did like an internship with his company. And then like he took his philosophy and kind of like added his own flavor because Benjamin Grant's philosophy was just to like find undervalued stocks, basically very similar to us, like in wholesaling. So he would find undervalued stocks essentially that he believed were trading below market value. And then he would buy a bunch of them up and then he would sell them. So it's kind of like flipping a house, but he was just flipping a stock. And
Yeah.
so Warren Buffett kind of took that same approach, except he just never sold. And so that was his thing. And so it shared how he like got started buying Berkshire Hathaway before it was even called Berkshire Hathaway. It was like a textile business. And he bought shares of that. I think it was like $7 or something back in the day. And he bought a bunch of shares of that because he believed in the business. And then he started like a partnership and he allowed investors to invest with him. And it was just really cool just hearing his story. And like back in the day, this was, I think, in the 80s or 70s or 80s, American Express was just getting started. And they made some bad investment on their end. And so they were like really in a crunch and their stock price plummeted and they were running out of cash. And he invested back then, I think it was the 80s, $13 million in American Express shares. And he said like, or the book said within the next couple of years, their shares like rebounded and tripled in value. And he made like $20 million in profit off of that investment. And so then he said after that, that was like his first big home run. He said after that, he pretty much shut down the partnership like immediately. And he was like, I'm just going to do this like on my own. And he pretty much told the investors like, hey, here's your returns. Like he referred them to a couple of his friends. And basically like he just stopped doing that, kind of like similar to The Big Short with Michael Burry when he like hit that home run with the thing and then he shut down the fund. So he did the same thing, and then he just pretty much bought all of Berkshire Hathaway and then started growing that. So I don't know, it was really cool. That's all in like the first couple of chapters, but I'm really interested in that book, so it's cool.
Yeah, a lot of that's in the other one too, right? Snowball. A lot of that same story.
Probably. I don't think I've read that one, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I read that one. I mean, it's like his biography, but they talk about Berkshire Hathaway, and Berkshire Hathaway had its ups and downs. Like it wasn't a home run. He had to go
yeah,
in there and rescue it, I think, at one point, or do some. He had to gut it or something. There's some story with
yeah,
that. We'll probably get to it. But yeah,
yeah,
it's cool. It's, I mean, God, the guy's just, and he just focused on one thing, and it's just crazy how successful he's been at it.
yeah. And it broke down like his goal initially was just to like double the Dow essentially. So if the Dow returns whatever people say 8 to 10%, he just wanted to double that every year. And in his first year, he made like 40%. And then next year was like same. And then he just like dominates every year and just destroyed them. But it was starting to talk about that in my latest chapter, how when he went all in on Berkshire after he shut down his partnership, he realized it's not that good of a business. And so
Yeah,
he basically like, yeah, he pretty much gutted the business and then like tried to improve the profits. And then he basically used the name and the brand to start scooping up other businesses and
right.
turned it into a conglomerate, which it is today. But yeah, it wasn't that great of a business. He realized that after the fact. So it's funny.
Yeah, that's what I was remembering. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, now his stocks, well, the book was written a little while ago, but I think it was in 2022 or something. One stock is like $560,000 for one stock, something like that. One of his shares. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, but that's the power of compound interest and living a very long time. That's what they say his philosophy is. Compound interest, increase your interest rate and live a long time. That's that's his philosophy. But
Well, he had as much money as he needed a long, long time ago. He just does it because he loves it too.
yeah, I mean, it clearly worked for him and Charlie, and he's still living, so that's awesome. Hope he lives a lot longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for me. I'm enjoying that book. So anyone interested, I think it's called The Warren Buffett Way, or you can read the other one, The Snowball. But
Yeah, it sounds great.
yeah, so you want to jump into business check in about KPIs and victories and any tools or tips?
Yeah, sure. Um, let's see. For this week, we sold one during. Well, actually, yeah, yesterday we got this. We sold one during the Monday through Friday week, and then yesterday we got an offer on two other properties as a package. They were both in the same area, and we got an offer from a realtor that we've worked with before who represents an investor, and she sent us offers on two properties that she sent us an offer, we countered, and then she sent us the price that we wanted. So I'm counting that as three
Hmm.
properties sold, which is great. We didn't get any contracts this week, which is weird because we've been doing pretty consistently, two or three contracts a week, sometimes four, but that's
Yeah,
okay. I know we'll bounce back. Um, it's like we got, I'm trying to look at my notes here, 29 SMS leads this week. And I don't know about the cold calling leads. We normally have been averaging around 25. So I'm guessing we've been doing 50 to 60 leads a week. And that's right where we are, around 55.
nice.
And out 30 offers, which is, kind of where we're trying to be in the 30s. Uh, SMS is back up a little bit we had slowed down on SMS for a few different reasons. We're working on this list filtering process. And um, anyway, we're back up to 15K texts this week, which is where we want to be in the 15 to 20,000 SMS sent for the week. So that's good. And then as far as victories go, I had a victory that's kind of a little bit of a story that's fun. We had a we had a property that we got under contract, and then we sold it to a buyer to close. It's a vacant lot, and then when the closing attorney went into the title to get things ready for closing, he found a lien, and we're not able to see liens. We have to get the attorney to look those up somehow. I haven't been able to figure out how to see liens with the county. But anyway, the lien was big. It was like 8,700, and our profit on the deal is like 12,000. So that wasn't going to work for us. And so we asked the attorney for help, and he said he couldn't help us with it. Which I know he's helped stuff like that before, but anyway, but my acquisition slash lead manager person kicked butt and went and found the creditor, found out that the creditor was deceased. The seller was saying that the lien was bogus, which obviously the creditor went to court and got a judgment, so it couldn't have been too bogus. But
Yeah.
they were disputing the efficacy of it or the veracity of it, and were saying that they weren't going to pay it. And the seller tried to get an attorney, and the attorney said, "Yeah, we can go, litigate this for you. It's going to cost you like 3,000 to retain us, and then whatever else." And
Right.
like, I'm not going to do that. This guy doesn't have a lot of money, so he was just
Yeah.
like, "Screw it, I'll hold on to it." And so anyway, my lead manager found it was a company that had filed the lien, and then the guy who owned the company was deceased, and then she went and found his executor, who was his brother, who lives in Texas. And we reached out to him, couldn't get a hold of him. We sent a letter, which it's so crazy, but just, as a tip or a trick, letters work so often, snail mail letters. And it turns out this executor, no, he's in his 80s. So we mailed him a letter, snail mail to his house in Texas. And he called me this week, you know, and the letter was just an offer. I was like, well, let's just make these guys an offer and see if we can negotiate this lien down. And the lien was 8,700. And we sent a letter that was offering $2,500 to satisfy the lien. Our profit on this like 12.5. So if we pay 2,500, we're still making 10, which is more than zero. So he called me up and he was like, "Hey, I didn't even know about this property when I was going through the estate and stuff. It never popped up. So yeah, sure, 2,500 sounds good to me. Just send me the paperwork." So so that was a huge victory, and so we're getting together the lien release and whatever else he needs to sign. He's going to send us his executor paperwork and death certificate, and we're going to be able to close that deal and make money on a deal that looked like it might have been dead a week or two ago. So huge victory, and shout out to Krisa for doing the detective work to find that guy. And
Nice.
and just the tip is the power of sending a snail mail letter, because oftentimes you get responses from them when you can't get somebody on the phone or SMS. It's just
Yeah.
uncanny how well it works. Um, and then another victory is that we have 5 closings that are possible for this week. And um, so, 5 closings scheduled in a week. It doesn't always pan out, but it's always fun when you have the possibility to do it. And like, it seems like all the buyers and sellers are on board, and maybe the lawyer can pull it off. So anyway, we have 5 lined up this week. That'll
That's
be fun
great.
how that goes. Yeah.
Hope they
Uh,
all close.
yeah. And like I said, we sold 3. That's a victory. That'd be a really great way to finish out the quarter. And great. It'd be a great week. And we pay
Yeah.
closing bonuses to everybody on the team when we close a deal. So that's a great week if we close 5. Uh, I was sharing with you offline, Jasper. We've been working on our Podio. We hired a developer. The guy who's in the role of executive assistant in my business has been doing great at overseeing the developer and getting Podio up to speed and getting reports created and everything. So on Friday, I was able to like go through reports. Some of them I edited or updated to be the way that I want them to be, and just basically played on Podio and got my dashboard so that I can really see what's going on in the business at a glance, and the team can also. So that's a huge victory, because we've been in business since 2021. I started in 2020, but we haven't really had a clear picture of our KPIs without like digging in and going and pulling numbers from here and there.
Yeah.
Not at a glance. So feels like a big victory for me. I can't really understate it. I know I'm talking in a calm tone of voice, but it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh, yeah, and my bookkeeping continues to also be a victory, because we got 2023 done. And now the bookkeeper that I hired is working on 2024 and getting everything updated with our expenses and our income, and profit and loss, all the reports that we need. And then she's also going to start working on our owner finance deals. And that's the thing. I don't even know how many owner finance deals we have. I think it's somewhere around 7 or 8 owner finance deals in progress right now, where we make money every month, and we don't even know that everybody is current on their payments, because we just don't have a solid system for that. you
Yeah.
know so I get reports like from QuickBooks in my email, "Hey, you got a payment," and usually I get all those reports on around the first of the month. But then some people pay partial payments, or some people might be behind. I don't know. So anyway, it's a victory that we'll have that dialed into, and we'll actually be seeing our revenue from closed deals and our revenue from owner finance deals, on our dashboard in reports on a weekly basis and a monthly basis, and know where we are, and also know if we have to follow up with people and say, "Hey man, you're delinquent. We need to get these payments in, or we're going to have to take action," that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So And then we have our SMS guy this week started taking some phone calls to take the pressure off my acquisitions person, which is great. He's just, since he's doing the SMS, when people want to jump on a call, that when they say call me in the process of SMS, he's now doing intake calls, and he just started this week. So that's a victory for the team, and for, it's empowering for him that he's starting to get on the phones and gain some
Yeah.
confidence there, and also for the for our acquisitions lead person, who is always has a lot to do. So it's great.
No, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So for challenges, we've got a ghosted seller, which I've checked in about before, and it's almost not even worth talking about because it's always a challenge in this business. But and then we kind of got into a cash flow crunch this last few weeks because we didn't close. We closed one deal in August, so that's something we can't totally control. But we closed so much in July that we had like cash confidence, and we spent maybe some money that we shouldn't have spent. I don't know. Like it's not even that clear why we got into such a crunch. One of them was that a buyer fell out on one of our deals, and we put 30K out to do that. And then we got a couple of deals that that we bought that didn't sell as quickly as possible, which you've done before, Jasper. Like you go, oh, I'm going to buy this because it's going to sell quickly and it's good. It's a good at a good place in the market with plenty of meat on the bone, and then end up not selling it so fast. So those are the kinds of things that put us in a little bit of a crunch. So that's why it's a victory for us to have 5 closings coming up this week, so we can get back into balance financially. But I guess that's a tip or a lesson, is just like to always make sure you have reserves. And we have enough reserves to get us through, but it's just tighter than I want it to be, and don't overextend, because then it shoots you in the foot as far as being able to do marketing or other things if you get too far overextended.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, and then a couple of learning tips I'll share, and then I can wrap it up. We talked offline about this BOIR report that everybody has to file. So if you have an accountant, they probably told you about it. But if you're just like a solopreneur, or doing your business by yourself, you might not be aware that there's this government thing that passed from the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and you have to file a beneficial ownership information report, BOIR. I just got this page opened here. And that's, I think, required by the end of this year. Otherwise, you could get penalties, and the penalties are very steep. It's like $570 a day,
Yeah.
and it's to avoid financial crimes or internet crimes, hiding behind LLCs. But it's mandatory for everybody with an LLC to file this now. So just if you haven't done it, BOIR, you can go to BOI filing financialcrimes.gov, something like that, FINCEN.gov, or just Google BOIR filing. Don't pay somebody to do it. When you Google it, you'll get paid results. Go down to the actual government site. It takes like 10 or 15 minutes at the most to fill out your information, and you
Yeah.
don't need to pay anybody to do that for you. But yeah, that's one tip. And then my other tip, something I've mentioned before, it's still a work in progress for us, but Lead Sherpa has free list filtering. And so if you want to filter your lists for free so that you're not skip tracing and paying to skip trace the same listings over and over, which will save you a lot of money, you can go on Lead Sherpa and input all your contacts that are in your system, in your CRM or your text platforms. You can put them into Lead Sherpa, and then you can, when you get a new list, you can filter that list down so that you're only skip tracing new people that are not in your system, and that'll save you a lot of money on skip tracing. So we've been working on
Mhm.
that, really saving us a ton of money on skip tracing. We spend a lot of money on skip tracing every month, so it's saving us probably thousands of dollars a month for the volume that we're doing. So depending on the scale that you're at, save you hundreds or thousands of dollars. And that's my other tip. And I think that's all I've got, unless you have any feedback or comments or anything, Jasper, on anything that I shared.
No, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited for your 5 closings this week. Hope everything goes smoothly.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll report next week that we closed all 5.
That's all right. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can switch it over to you and check in about what's going on.
All righty. Well, I guess I'll do KPIs first for this week. We were a little bit down on SMS leads. Noticed a bit of a downtrend on the response rate, so added some more data and then picked up at the end of the week, so that was good. And also had a call with Call Geeks this week about their lead flow and all this stuff, and that was good. So hopefully going to see an improvement with them going forward. But yeah, overall we got what's that?
Oh, sorry, I was sniffling.
Oh,
It's chilly. I did a
yeah. I said overall we got 85 leads and 106 offers this week. And so a little bit low in the leads, like I said, but we still pumped out a lot of offers. And that's in part thanks to what I was talking about with you offline, which I wanted to share briefly. But if anyone is already working with the team and you have acquisitions, or if you're on your own acquisitions and you're utilizing some sort of like drip campaigns within your system, like I think this only becomes a problem once you have a few thousand leads and you're doing like follow-ups to them consistently. But we were at a point where we were getting a lot of inbound texts daily just to my acquisitions team directly. And so what I did is set up just a sales team inbox, which is what I called it. And so now it doesn't go to them directly, but it goes to this shared inbox. And I just gave access to my SMS guy. And so he's pretty much filtering out all of the people that are not interested every day. And so it's very similar to when you're doing outbound text, where probably 10% of the people that are reaching out, or not reaching out, but replying, are interested, and the rest of them are not. And so if you can hire someone, who's just an SMS slash like admin virtual assistant to, like I said, just filter out all the not interested people, then it saves you or your acquisitions a ton of time. And so that's what I've noticed. And I just implemented that in the last, not this week, but the week before. And I noticed, like, if I'm looking at my numbers right here, the 2 weeks prior to that, we had put out 84 offers and 95 offers. And the 2 weeks since that's been implemented, we put out 114 and 106. So that's an increase of, I guess, on average, 10 to 15 offers a week. And
yeah.
that can really compound over time. And again, that's with fewer new leads coming in the last 2 weeks. And we're still putting out more offers. And I think that's because of that shift that we made. So now they have more time to actually talk to sellers and make offers and stuff. So yeah, that's been a no victory for us. And yeah, it's been awesome. And then for this week, we closed 2 deals. We got one 5-star review, which is awesome. And thank you. And yeah, we got one 5-star review, closed 2 deals. We sold 3 deals this week and one contract. So we got stats in every category, which is good. A little bit light on the contracts, but that's okay. I hope we'll bounce back next week. But we still got one, and we've been on a roll, like you mentioned, with contracts, just getting 2 or 3 or 4 a week. So it's nice that having one contract in a week is a bad thing, because earlier this year I had a couple weeks where I had 0 like in a row, and that hurts. So
Yeah.
lately the acquisition team has been cranking, and that's been awesome. So yeah, so that's pretty much the numbers for this week. In terms of other things I could share, I guess I could do a breakdown on one of these deals. I think I kind of did last week, but one of these properties was a renegotiation, and that's what was able to save the deal so that we could close it. So we contracted this deal. I'll just do a quick breakdown on this one, but the lead came in June of this year, so it's actually a pretty quick turnaround. But SMS lead came in June of this year, and then we contracted in July. So it came in June 20th. We contract July 8th, so that's about 2 weeks from the lead coming in. And then it took about a month from the contract date until we were actually able to see the house, because there were tenants in there. And anytime we do a tenant deal, we don't deal with tenants anymore. So it's always very clear in our contract and very clear in our negotiations that we'll close once it's vacant and not before.
That's
So
good to have
anyways,
some
that took
clarity
longer than
there.
expected, as usual. And so it took the tenants about a month to move out when they were supposed to move out sooner. But either way, we saw the property, got a lockbox on there and everything. And then we got some pictures and sent some buyers out there, and the feedback was all the same. And so that is good. Now, one thing I would say, like when you're sending buyers out to property, always get a few opinions. Like if someone comes back super low, and if someone comes back super low and they try to like tell you on the phone or whatever, like, oh yeah, this one's totally shot. Like the foundation needs this much and this needs this and this. Like, don't listen to that. Like, get multiple opinions. But if you do get 3 or 4 or 5 buyers all saying the same thing, then it's true. You know, if it's just one, you can take it with a grain of salt. But if multiple
Yeah.
people say the same thing, then it's true. So after we got a few different opinions and everyone seemed to say the foundation was definitely shot, and people gave us kind of ranges from anywhere from 20 grand up to 40 grand and what they estimated it would take to fix that. So we just kind of came back in the middle at 30 and told the seller like it's probably going to take somewhere around 30. And we told him like we don't try to pressure these people, but we were like, hey, like we would love to buy this property at this cheaper price, or this is our feedback and it'll probably cost you 30,000 to fix this up and put on the market. And so he got super pissed right off the bat, and he was like, "Send me the cancellation. Like, I'm not doing this. We signed a contract as is, all this stuff." We're like, "Okay," so send the cancellation. And then I think it was like 3 or 4 days later, and he reached out to me on a weekend, and he was like, "Hey, like, I just saw the property. Could you guys do?" I think he said, "Could you guys do 160 or something?" We had offered him 150. I think was the renegotiation. So we came up a bit. I think we came up to 150. I can check here. 153 came up to, and he agreed to that. And then we already had buyers, lined up at a higher price because we already had those offers in hand. And so we sold it fairly quick on the after we got the new contract, and then we closed it out. So we closed it on September 3rd, and we got that renegotiation on. I think we got that on the 20th of August. Yeah. So yeah, pretty quick turnaround after we got the renegotiation, which I think he was happy about. We did have a delay with our closing, but he was still happy overall. So that was good.
That's great.
And yeah, and I guess I'll just do that breakdown for this week. Uh, oh yeah, and then I did have another one that was I don't know if I should mention their name, but it was sold to one of the largest wholesalers in the country, and they backed down on me. They backed down on me the day of closing,
Oh
and
my God.
and I was a little bit surprised on this one because only because he told me like every day that week, like, yeah, like we're ready to close on this day. And so I called the dude who I was working with because I've actually closed a couple deals with him this year. And I was like, dude, like you can just be real with me. Like I understand, we have buyers back out too, but when you tell me that it's gonna close and then they back out the day of closing, like just be real with me. You knew they were gonna back out. And then he told me the whole story, and it was like this whole long story. Like the person on their team who sold the deal to the buyer quit, and so they didn't like know because the company is so big, they have so many deals, they didn't even know. So poor management by whoever's managing that office, but they didn't even know that this like deal was like in the dark. Essentially, that buyer didn't know what was going on because the rep quit. And so anyways, long story short, they canceled on me. And then he was like, "Oh, well, we'll reach out to our backup buyer and like try to get close." I was like, "No, dude, like I'm just gonna sell the deal on my own." So we sent it back out and we sold it thankfully within like a couple hours. And so that buyer was actually an awesome buyer. He's like, "I'm closing cash. I will literally close today." And I was like, "Wow." And so we told the attorney, but they were like, "No, we need a couple days to like switch everything around." But still exciting. So hopefully we'll close that next week.
That's great.
And that'll be like probably my fastest closing ever. If we close on Monday, like that's like 2 days. So that's very impressive.
Yeah,
But
that's awesome.
and so
And
this
awesome that
buyer,
you took it away from the big company and got
yeah,
this yourself. You probably make more money too, right?
no, I sold it for the same price, but I was just like, I probably could have made it maybe a few thousand, but I was like, I just want to save
Yeah.
face with the seller and not delay things too much longer. So
Yeah.
but in this situation, I don't know if we should mention this, but we've mentioned them before, so people can read between the lines. But in this situation, I always recommend when you're working with them to request a non-refundable due diligence from them, and that way, when this happens, because it will, then you're at least left with something. And so in this case, like that's probably why he wanted me to go with them so they wouldn't lose that money. But I was like, no, like I'm just gonna take your due diligence and sell it to someone else. And so now I make an extra 2,500 bucks. So that's nice for me.
Oh, wow. So
Um,
they gave you a non-refundable 2,500.
yeah. And so I'll always, anytime I do a deal with them, now if it's an occupied property, I don't do it because like I don't even know what it's like in there. But if it's vacant and like they've seen the house and everything, like I'm like, no, I need non-refundable if we're gonna do this deal. So
So do they do the 5-day inspection and then the due diligence becomes non-refundable once they commit? That's how it goes?
I just asked for it up front on any vacant properties.
even before they do their 5-day dance?
Yeah. And they still have the 5 days, so like obviously they can terminate, and I'm not going to sue them or anything, I guess, but like that due diligence is mine to keep. So yeah, but
Surprised they do that.
yeah, but that's what I did with them to protect myself. So obviously I would have rather just close the deal and close it on time, but now I do make a little bit extra money, so that's nice, especially because it wasn't like a home run deal anyways. But I did find a great new buyer out of it, a cash buyer, and he's now going to definitely be one of my VIP guys if he closes on Monday. But everything looks
Yeah,
good. We signed a contract with this dude. He sent in an EMD receipt like within an hour, and he's ready to go. So it seems like a really cool guy to work with, and I'm excited about that. So
that's
yeah,
great.
yeah, definitely. So I think that's about it for this week. Yeah. Um, I also had I guess I had a challenge I could share for this week because I had two deals. So we sold three deals. That's the story of one of them, and the other two I was like exactly opposite on, which is frustrating. So on one of these deals, it was a hot deal, and we were getting a bunch of activity, bunch of offers coming in. But in this case, we didn't have the keys to the property yet. It was vacant, but we didn't have the keys yet. We were waiting on the seller. And so we were just marketing it still because we had photos of the property, interior and exterior, but we didn't have keys. And so we were marketing it. We were telling the buyers that, hey, we don't have keys, but we're open to taking sight unseen offers. These are the current pictures. And we got a bunch of people offering. And about half of them were like, well, this is my offer, but I want to see inside. And the other half were like, this is my offer, like sight unseen, let's do it. And so I was like, wow. And me and Josh were kind of working the deal, tag team, because when we send deals out, I still have buyers that are texting me. So I'm trying to train them to text him, but either way. So we're working it, we're getting a bunch of offers coming in, and we had sent it out for 115. And so we're getting a bunch of offers like in that 110 to 115 for sight unseen. And then we're getting a bunch of offers 115 to 120, but they want to see it. And so this one dude just kept hounding me about it. And he was like, just literally texting me like multiple times a day, like, did you get the keys? Did you get the keys? And I'm like, dude, seller's 80 years old. She's probably gonna drop them off next week. Like, it's not gonna move quickly. Like, and I told him like, I'm no rush to sell this deal. Like, we're just gonna wait for the keys, and then we'll let everyone see
Yeah,
the house.
especially when you have that much interest, you don't need to be in
Yeah,
a hurry.
yeah. And so, anyone who knows negotiations, whoever like doesn't care about the deal wins. So in that case, like I didn't care about it because it was so hot, and I was like, if we just set up a showing or something, it's probably going to go way over asking because we're going to get like 30 people going in the house. And so I basically told him that, like, not trying to be mean, but I was like, dude, we're just going to wait. Like, we're not in a rush. We'll just set up a showing next week, and I'll let you know. And so he just came up and up and up. He literally started at 105 and came up to 120. And so we
Wow.
and so we sold it to him.
Sight unseen?
Yeah, so I don't see it. We sold it to him. And he
That's great.
put down the deposit and everything. So that was awesome. And then I got another deal, and I made the opposite mistake and accepted the offer too soon. So that was a fail. So I went 1 for 2 this week. But I
Well,
was
making
just
15 making 15K for just being patient is pretty nice.
yeah, I mean it was 5K over our price. So I guess an extra five.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, he came up 15 on his own.
Yeah.
That was interesting. But
Yeah, that's like the one that we sold with the package, like, it was 2 vacant lots, and they offered us, like, 38K, and we're like, "We got a bunch of buyers going out there this weekend, we're not in a rush." And she's like, "Well, I'd rather you counter than wait for other offers." And so then we
yeah,
countered, with 45, and she's like, "Yes." And then I'm like, "Oh, man, we went too low with the counter," you know?
right, yeah. Uh,
But but anyway, we went up 7K just because she was impatient and didn't wanna, have compete with other offers.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, my other deal, I sold it too fast and I think for too cheap. I probably could have done the same thing with this one. Um, but also my challenge lately has been like I've seen a few deals that I want to buy, but my last experience on the market was exact opposite from what I expected. So I don't know. I'm kind of like tentative to put another one out on the market, even though like it looks like a good deal on my end, but I'm like, I would rather just take take kind of the quick money and kind of the guaranteed money because in that case there's no money out of my pocket and I'm still making money. It's the beauty of wholesaling. But I do feel like in some
Except
instances,
for the risk of somebody going around you or, people falling out of the deal, all that
that's
stuff.
true.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what buying the deal takes out. If you buy it, then you're in control.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's been a bit of a challenge. So I think I mean one of my goals, I already set goals for my next quarter is to buy at least two properties and list them and just bite the bullet. Because I think it's like even if I don't make as much money, like on the last one, I didn't make that much, but it's still a good learning experience and a gauge for me to kind of see where the market's at. And then it can give me a better like ability to negotiate with buyers too, because every buyer right now is saying, "Oh, the market's slow, the market's slow." But I don't know necessarily if that's true because my last one was in July that I listed, so I don't have a current gauge necessarily. But
Yeah, and the upside's big, and
yeah,
it's the same type of thing as what you were saying with the other deal where the guy went up and up. It's like if you own the property, you're not in any rush,
yeah,
You're not dealing with the seller or trying to appease them or anything. You're just like, yeah, I'll just wait until I get the offer I want. So
yeah,
that's good, a good part of it too.
definitely. And that's why I rushed and sold this second deal I mentioned too soon because the seller has a foreclosure looming. And so typically I would have done the same thing with that one, but on this one I kind of am in a rush. So that's where I kind of messed up there because I don't want to let them down, but at the same time I want to maximize profit. So it's tough. But, yeah. But yeah, that's it for me this week. That was a good week.
Nice. Thanks for checking in.
Yeah. Oh, I did have that other one too, but I don't want to be too long-winded here. I had the other one I was texting you about. That was an interesting, very interesting
Yeah, that
scenario.
was crazy, man. I thought we had a great subject too there. When
Yeah,
you sent it to me,
man.
I was like, this is awesome. We got to get, if the guy falls out, we got to get this.
Yeah, crazy. Well, for anyone listening, we had a very interesting mortgage stuff we checked in on last week. So we can go back and check that out. But we found one this week. We were trying to partner up in sub two on it. And then she sent me the statement and there's 20.9% interest rate or something crazy
Yeah,
like that.
20.99. Yeah,
Yeah. And so I don't know. The interesting thing is, I think the company with the statement, because I called them and spoke to them, is just like a servicing company. And they told me how it kind of works. They told me that it's essentially, so you were right because we were texting about it, but you were right because they told me that they essentially are just a servicing company. They don't hold the loan, but they can't put me in contact with the loan because they're a servicing company. They can't put me in contact with the loan holder. That's why they hire them. And they said that this particular loan and a lot of the loans they work on are private loans. And so essentially, this wasn't a bank loan. You were right. And it was probably some sort of short term financing.
yeah.
And that's why the interest rate is so bad. But even short term, like for anyone listening, do not pay more than like 10 to 12%. Like
You
20% is
needed cash
insane.
fast. That's what I thought. And she did
Yeah.
some short-term private thing. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I get letters in the mail sometimes of like, hey, you're guaranteed for a free home equity loan for,
Yeah.
20% interest, right? For
Yeah.
$10,000 or something. And I think she just took one of those things.
Yeah.
It's almost a scam. I
Crazy.
mean, it's borderline illegal. Usury is the word that they use in the law of like abusing somebody financially, because
Yeah,
that's.
'cause that's insane to me. I mean, I don't get it.
And then it was a high payment probably, and she couldn't make the payments, and now they're foreclosing. And then they added on ridiculous attorney fees. They're like $5,000 in attorney fees to like file a foreclosure and stuff. It's just, it's 2 hours of attorney work.
No, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think that one's dead in the water. I did, speak to the servicing company, and the people I spoke to there were like super friendly because they just service it. They didn't make the loan, and they
did you
kind of
ask
felt bad.
if you could make an offer on the um, principal or the amount owed?
Yeah, and they kind of felt bad for the borrower as well, and so that's what they directed me to do, and that's what I did. But still haven't heard back because they told me that they literally told me they're like, we can't give you their phone number, we can't give you their name. Like all you can do is email this email. And they were very friendly, but they were like, we just can't do this. And so I emailed them, and I had our attorney email them. We both emailed them, and so hopefully we'll hear back. But
Did you make an offer with a dollar amount attached?
yeah, yeah. So we
Yeah,
offered them 100. We offered them 131.
yeah,
Um, because I think it's 152 or something like that. And I think the actual balance is like 128, 129.
right, yeah. So
But
they
there's
just
just
got a
like,
bunch of junk fees and
yeah,
BS
so many
attached to
fees
it.
on there. Yeah, so many fees. And so they did say, the people I talked to, they were like, well, this company has been known to negotiate because, they just want to get paid and stuff. So they told me all we can do is send that demand letter and wait, but we don't have that much time. So we'll see. Hopefully they'll get
Yeah.
back to us
Fingers
tomorrow.
crossed. Yeah. I mean, that's the best way I can think of to handle it. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just for if you're listening to this and you're not sure what we're talking about, I think it's pretty clear, but like everything's negotiable. And I just shared a story earlier of, this guy had a judgment on a property for $8,700 and we offered him 2,500 and he said, okay. And this is just the same thing. I just suggested to Jasper last week, like his numbers aren't going to work with his buyer at the current rate that at the current payoff they're trying to get. So I was just like, well, make him an offer. So, can't hurt. So, you can
Right.
always make an offer on any debt or judgment or lien or mortgage or anything, because a lot of people would rather have something than just like have a lien and maybe never get the money or take a long time to get the money or spend, attorney fees or litigation. I mean, who knows with the foreclosure laws that became more favorable to sellers, it might be a real hassle for them to ever get their money, or it might take
Yeah.
them a long time. So
Definitely.
they might just be like, hey, yeah, we'll take the 130, or they might counter you at 135 or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's something you can do. Don't ever just take something at face value, and you can always make an offer.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yep. And also, I have another one like you were talking about too, where I sent them a letter. So hopefully they call me back. But I have another lien like yours.
Yeah. And I've negotiated down a lot of these, over the past few years, different liens, or even like when you're dealing with an ex-spouse, like it's happened to me a few times where the seller will tell us that they're divorced and everything's good and we're going to close. And then you get to closing and they say, oh no, the spouse has an interest in this. And then you have to go to the
Yeah.
ex-husband or wife and they want money. And then you have to negotiate with them and make them an offer. But you can, you know, sometimes the seller will give a little bit and then you work both ends against the middle and get a number that works for everybody. So
Yeah.
just being aware that everything is negotiable and you can often make deals work by working both ends of it, like get this person to give a little, get that person to give a little, and you can make a deal that where everybody gets a payday.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, yeah. Awesome. Um, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I do have, I do have one more thing I could share. Um,
All
we
right.
built we built a private group this week for our buyers, and we already got like 75 people in there. So I would just recommend that to anyone who has some sort of buyers list. Is just build your own private Facebook group, and then you can list your deals in there. And
Oh wow.
I just noticed, there's a lot of people active in all the Facebook groups that I'm a part of, posting deals constantly. And I just noticed that our email response rate has gone down a little bit, but I see these people constantly commenting on Facebook. And so,
Yeah.
and so,
When you go through Facebook groups, people are always on there. Yeah.
yeah. And it's funny because like I'll see people comment on a deal on Facebook and I'm like, well, I just sent you a deal today, but you didn't respond to me. So it's like either way, that's why we built this group. And like I said, it's grown super fast so far. And we're just posting our deals in there. So for anyone who has some sort of buyers list, just create a simple group, send it out to your list that you have a group, and then most of them will want to join it. And you can find new buyers that way too. So,
Well, how do you find new buyers if it's private?
well, those buyers can invite more people.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. And then you can, when you're going through the Facebook groups, like our dispositions guy adds buyers every week, you can say, hey, we have a private group if you're interested,
Yeah,
and send them a link. Yeah. And then
definitely.
it also adds the air of exclusivity, which people love being part of an exclusive club or group.
Yeah, definitely. And it positions you as some sort of authority when you have your own group, even though it's just a Facebook group. But we have our logo on there and it's like looks official and stuff. So yeah,
That's really smart.
yeah.
Great tip.
Yeah, but now that's actually it this week. We can wrap it up. Do you have anything else you want to share, or any quotes or anything?
Uh, we can pull up James Clear. I think I have it open in my email here.
All
See
right,
if
let's do
it's
it.
good in here. You can carve out a very good career simply by being the most reliable person on the team. You would not think that always showing up on time, hitting every deadline, and responding quickly and professionally to all communication would be a differentiator, but these traits are always in short supply.
Yeah,
Amen to that.
for sure.
I'll read the second one and then we'll wrap. It's easy to assume that getting rich in money will also mean you're rich in time, but it is often the case that when you earn more money, you end up with less time and more responsibilities. Being rich is nice, but what you really want to optimize for is one, an income that exceeds your spending by a healthy margin, and two, a lifestyle that is free from rushing. A great point. That's a James
Yeah.
Clear newsletter, the 321 Atomic Habits newsletter. All right. That's all I got.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone who listened this far, and drop any comments you want us to address on the next episode. We'll see you next time. Take care.